Excuse me, madam. Your husband is here.
Excuse me. Do I know you?
It's me, Martin.
This is a misunderstanding. I don't know this man. This is my husband.
Who the hell are you?
Who the hell are you?
I'm her husband. You're embarrassing me, please.
Get him out of here. Come on, sir.
Liz!
I must
I
apologize.
was hurt.
Dr. Martin Harris is flying into Berlin with his wife, Liz, ready to attend an important biotechnology summit. After landing, they grab a taxi outside the airport, and in the rush of loading their bags, Martin accidentally leaves his briefcase sitting on a luggage cart, completely unaware he's forgotten it. They chat about their plans. Martin has lunch with Professor Bressler, and afterward, the couple hopes to explore an art exhibition on Saturday. When they pull up to their luxury hotel, Martin suddenly realizes something's wrong. His briefcase is missing. While he's still processing that, Liz is at the front desk arguing because their room apparently isn't available yet. As she expresses her frustration, she turns and sees Martin climbing back into the taxi. He's trying to return to the airport to look for his lost bag, but his phone has no signal, and the street is jammed with traffic. He urges the taxi driver to take another route to avoid the gridlock, but the detour goes horribly wrong. Another vehicle sideswipes them on a narrow bridge, sending their taxi crashing through the railing and plunging into the icy river below. The impact knocks Martin unconscious. The driver, a young woman, shatters a window to escape and drags his body out of the sinking car. Emergency teams arrive just in time and restart his heart as the driver slips away before anyone can question her. Martin finally opens his eyes in a hospital bed, dazed and confused. A doctor explains that he's been in a coma for 4 days. Martin's first question is why his wife hasn't come looking for him, but the doctor gently tells him that he arrived with no identification, making it impossible for anyone to know who he was. Later, a nurse adds something even more unsettling. No one has asked about him at all. The hospital staff returns the few items recovered from the accident. As he inspects them, memories start bubbling up. He recalls Liz giving him an engraved watch during their honeymoon, a gift meant to commemorate the start of their life together. He flips through a book among his belongings and sees a heartfelt message written by his father on the first page, along with a string of handwritten numbers scribbled inside the cover. A TV in the room plays a report about the very conference Martin came to Berlin to attend, snapping him back to reality. Despite the doctor's concerns about his still fragile condition, Martin insists on leaving. The doctor reluctantly agrees and hands him his contact information in case complications arise. Determined to prove he's not imagining things, Martin heads straight to the hotel. He approaches the front desk explaining that he lost his room key and needs a new one. But everything changes when he suddenly spots Liz walking through the lobby. He tries to reach her, but the hotel's security stops him. He has no ID, no reservation record, nothing proving he belongs there. They escort him to Liz, but instead of relief, he's met with chilling denial. Liz looks him in the eyes and says she has no idea who he is. She even introduces another man who confidently claims he is Dr. Martin Harris. Shaken, the real Martin is dragged away by security and shown the check-in footage. The video confirms Liz checked in that morning, and the other Martin Harris checked in later that afternoon. There's no evidence the real Martin ever arrived. Furious, he demands contact with the U.S. Embassy, but it's Thanksgiving and the office is closed. With no other options, he asks to be taken back to the hospital. But halfway there, he slips out of the taxi and walks away, only to spot Liz calmly eating at a restaurant through the window, acting as if nothing is wrong. He tries to find a cheap place to stay, but every hotel denies him without a passport. Feeling completely isolated, he calls his friend Rodney and tells him something is very wrong. When he hangs up, he notices a suspicious car creeping behind him. Panic rising, Martin heads into the subway. A stranger trails him aggressively, forcing him to jump onto the next train just as the doors close. He sits down, trying to piece the puzzle together, jotting down every appointment he can remember. At the next stop, he gets off, tears a page out of a local phone book, and suddenly freezes. He spots a taxi identical to the one he crashed in. A spark of hope hits him. If he can find the driver, maybe she can confirm who he really is. Martin heads straight to the taxi company's office and asks about the driver from his crash. They tell him her name is Gina, and he eventually tracks her down working at a bar. When he approaches her, she immediately shuts him down and tells him to leave. She wants nothing to do with the situation, especially after nearly dying in the accident. Still determined, Martin goes to his scheduled lunch with Professor Bressler, hoping at least someone will recognize him. But when he arrives, his stomach drops. The other Martin is already there, confidently introducing himself as Dr. Martin Harris. Both men recite identical details, matching each other word for word. The professor is understandably confused. The imposter then delivers a devastating blow. He opens his wallet and shows perfectly valid identification, complete with photos of himself and Liz. Overwhelmed, the real Martin collapses. When he comes to, he's back in the hospital. The nurse discreetly slips him a phone number belonging to a friend who works as a private investigator. The doctor apologizes for releasing him too soon, saying he wasn't stable yet. Desperate, Martin asks the doctor how he can possibly know so much about him if he isn't actually Martin Harris. Before he can get answers, he's sedated for an MRI scan. As the machine clicks and whirs, the same man who chased him in the subway sneaks into the room and tries to abduct him. The nurse attempts to intervene but is brutally killed. The man exits the scan room, giving Martin just enough time to break free from the restraints and escape down the hallway. Chaos erupts as Martin flees in a stolen ambulance. Once outside, he tries calling Liz again, but the other Martin answers her phone. With nowhere else to turn, he goes to meet the investigator, Jurgen, the one person who might help untangle this nightmare. Martin explains everything from the beginning and begs Jurgen to help him prove he is the real Dr. Martin Harris. He shows him the book from his father with the written numbers. He insists Liz wrote them, and he also presents the schedule he reconstructed from memory. Martin believes the entire setup has been planned for months, but he's convinced there must be something they overlooked. Jurgen agrees to investigate and takes every dollar Martin has left. His first instruction: go back to Gina. Martin finds her again and tells her that he knows why she ran from the crash. She's undocumented and afraid of authorities. He hands her his watch as a gesture of trust and asks her to speak with Jurgen. Meanwhile, Jurgen calls a contact named Hans at the airport, asking him to dig up travel records. Martin returns to Gina and opens up about everything. After hearing the story, she reluctantly allows him to stay the night. Hans begins checking data on conference attendees. While searching, he uncovers a connection to a previous assassination attempt involving Prince Shada, a Middle Eastern royal expected at the event. The plot thickens. Later, Martin wanders around Gina's small apartment and finds her artwork. She snaps at him for looking without permission and reveals that she's been saving money to get legal papers so she can finally build a better life. Before they can finish the conversation, someone knocks. Another driver drops off keys to a taxi she'll be using. Martin heads to the shower, but moments later there's a second knock. Two armed men force their way in, knocking Gina unconscious. They search for Martin, who has climbed out a window and onto the roof. One of the attackers goes after him while the other, the same killer from earlier, stays with Gina. Martin sneaks back inside and fights the killer. Gina suddenly awakens and jabs a syringe into the man's neck, giving them a chance to flee. They jump into the taxi outside, but immediately the second villain appears, ramming them and forcing a dangerous chase through the city. He nearly pushes them into the path of a tram before their vehicles crash. Martin and Gina stumble into a crowded nightclub to hide. Shaken, Gina vents that men like these murdered her family, and she hates that she has been dragged back into a life of danger. She storms off. Martin opens his father's book again and studies the numbers. Suddenly, something clicks. The numbers are a code, pointing to specific words on specific pages. He starts deciphering it just as Gina returns. He apologizes for everything and promises he'll fix the mess. He calls Jurgen with the good news: he cracked the code. The message reveals the scientific names of two common flowering plants, though neither Martin nor Jurgen knows the significance yet. Jurgen asks how close Prince Shada is to Professor Bressler. They discover the two are collaborating on advanced agricultural breakthroughs meant to fight global hunger. Jurgen forms a chilling theory. Someone impersonating Martin Harris may be trying to get close enough to assassinate the prince. Martin decides to follow his written schedule and find Liz at the exhibition. Gina warns him it's a bad idea, but he insists. He trails Liz through the exhibition halls, but spots the villain shadowing her as well. Meanwhile, Gina tries to text him, warning that the imposter is also on the move. Martin finally gets Liz alone. She turns cold and asks why he won't leave her alone. She admits she can't escape the situation. They'll kill both of them if she tries. She begs him to recover his briefcase, kisses him, and quietly whispers that she loves him. As Martin walks away, Gina joins him and they rush toward the airport. While Martin and Gina make their way to the airport, Jurgen receives an envelope from Hans. Inside are airport security photos clearly showing Martin and Liz arriving together, proof that the real Martin did exist before the accident. Seconds later, Jurgen gets a call from Martin's friend Rodney, who claims he can verify Martin's identity. Jurgen tells him to come by immediately, but when Rodney arrives, Jurgen instantly recognizes something off. He realizes Rodney isn't a friend at all. He's a former mercenary. Before Rodney can eliminate him, Jurgen knowingly triggers a poison capsule he keeps hidden on his person, choosing suicide over torture. He collapses, dying before Rodney can reach him. Meanwhile, Martin arrives at the airport's lost luggage counter and reclaims his missing briefcase. Inside are his passport, documents, and IDs, all proving the identity he believed was his. Gina warns him it isn't safe to stay in such an obvious location, but Martin insists he must wait. Liz told him the briefcase was the key. Gina prepares to leave, uncomfortable with the attention they're attracting. Martin gives her money to thank her for helping him. Worried, Gina reminds him that Liz might have already told the imposters exactly where he would be. She returns the engraved watch he gave her and walks away. Moments later, Rodney appears, pretending to help. Gina, now outside in line for a taxi, glances back and notices Martin being forced into a van. She steals a taxi and races after them. Inside the van, Martin is dragged out and interrogated. Rodney calmly explains the truth that shatters everything. The real Dr. Martin Harris doesn't exist. Martin was never who he thought he was. His identity was fabricated as a cover for an assassination operation tied to the conference. His memories were intentionally constructed as part of the mission. The villain demands to know Martin's true identity, holding him at gunpoint. Rodney reveals that Martin was a trained operative and that this confusion has never happened before. He wasn't supposed to lose his memory. Just as the villain prepares to shoot, Gina slams her taxi straight into him, pinning him against the van. The impact causes the van to topple and crash, killing both Rodney and the other assassin. Martin grabs Rodney's suitcase and opens it. Inside are multiple fake passports for both him and Liz, confirming everything Rodney said. Looking deeper, he finds proof that he and Liz were in Berlin 3 months earlier, scouting the location. Shaken, he tells Gina that the prince is in danger, that the assassination will happen tonight. Gina sighs, telling him she should have let him drown during the crash, but despite her frustration, she stays with him. That evening, Prince Shada arrives at the conference, followed by Professor Bressler and his daughters. Liz warmly welcomes the prince, playing her role perfectly. Meanwhile, Martin and Gina sneak inside through a service entrance, but are immediately spotted by hotel security. Inside, Bressler hands his laptop to Liz for safekeeping. She discreetly attaches a device to download his hard drive. As the data transfers, she finds the coded message from Martin's father's book, confirming that someone wants access to Bressler's groundbreaking agricultural research. Security teams review old surveillance footage from 3 months prior. When they recognize Martin and Liz together, they initiate an evacuation order. As the imposter Martin and Liz run down the stairs, Liz suddenly stops. She tells him she must return to deal with the bomb. They don't need it anymore, but she refuses to let her face be tied to an unnecessary explosion. She heads back alone. Elsewhere, Martin notices Bressler's daughters. Their names match the common names of the plants from his father's code. That's when it hits him. Bressler is the real target. His research would be worth billions to corporations willing to kill for it. The prince was never the intended victim. Martin overpowers the guards and escapes the security office. He confronts the imposter Martin, who has returned to kill Bressler personally. Meanwhile, Liz fails to disarm the bomb in time and is engulfed in the massive blast. In the final showdown, Martin regains fragments of his old operative memories, enough to fight. He kills the imposter with a shattered piece of mirror just as Gina arrives. She quietly takes the weapon from his hand and helps him out of the burning building. Outside, firefighters battle the flames as Bressler escapes with his daughters. The next day, he publicly announces the creation of a new strain of corn capable of drastically reducing world hunger. Martin gives Gina a fake passport from Rodney's suitcase, ensuring she can finally choose her own path. He too adopts a new identity. With nothing left of their old lives, they board a train together, ready to start over. For the first time, their lives are their own, and whatever comes next, they'll decide together. And that is how it ended. Like and subscribe for more videos just like this, and remember to turn on notifications. It truly supports the channel. Thanks for watching.